Never dug no fade. Always with the toe to toe.
Hey, welcome to Grit Talk series. I'm Darryl.
And I'm Darryl.
Hey, and this is our third episode.
Number 3, baby.
We made it. We got through intro, got through life heritage, right? Where we went last week or last episode. And we're going to shift gears this episode a little bit.
Yeah, take it somewhere else.
Take it somewhere else this episode, all right? So, hey, welcome to our live people, our live audience. We trying this new for you guys. So we're going to see how this goes for you people who like live. All right, so the premise of today is really just like about how our experiences in Black America coincide with becoming conscious of white people, right? Like it was a time in my life where I didn't know nothing about it, you know, and then my consciousness changed, and it changed multiple times over the years about what I thought about white people and how they could affect me.
Yeah, mine is totally different.
Yeah.
Right away as a young kid, I had a white, person, shout out Coach Pat, Project Pat, coming in my life, as a 8-year-old kid, really, so it's different experiences we both have.
Yeah, for sure. And this is not just as a disclaimer, this is not about bashing every white person and every white person is the devil. That's not what this is.
Not at all.
This is what is the experience, right? It's about what the experience was, what it was for us to walk through these years and come across different situations, So we're gonna touch on some of the good. We're gonna touch on some of the not so good stuff, So that's what this episode is gonna be about. So let's dive in. I'll start it off with, my first memories, right? So for me, elementary school will be the first memories that I have of actually acknowledging and being conscious that there are other white kids around me, right? But I'll say that up until first grade, like I didn't really have any consciousness about Black and white.
Yeah, same for me. Just being too young to even remember that.
Yeah,
to a certain degree.
No consciousness for real. I went to kindergarten, but I had no memories of the kids, anything, right?
No.
But first grade was the moment when things changed for me, right? Up until that point, everywhere we move, because we're growing up in Black America, mostly what I see is Black. Okay. At this time, we talking about the early 80s.
You said first grade, right? How old are you in the first grade? You
6,
7?
6. Yep. So, in first grade for me, first of all, it was a transition because we were coming from Detroit back to St. Louis, which is a different climate. It was different. It was where we were in Detroit. We lived in a shell. The only thing that we did was my mom, your grandmama, went to church a lot. So either we was at home, we was at her sister's house, my Aunt Ob's house, or we was at church. Or I may have gone to school. You know what I'm saying? And those were the places that mainly I would be, And within those places, church was going to be all Black. Okay. Mm-hmm. We would go travel. We would go to music programs where they were singing and things, and that would be all Black. Okay. If I went to the neighborhood where my aunt house was and played outside and played with the kids, it was all Black. It was nothing white. Right. But when I got to St. Louis and I got to, which is your great grandmama house, Great Bath. Mm-hmm. Okay. Everything there is Black, still no white. Okay. But then my mom says, okay, time to go to school. And when I go off to school, that's my first time where I sit in a classroom and I look around me and I truly notice that I'm a minority.
Where were you going to school? On Grape?
From Grape.
To somewhere
but I
around
went
Grape?
to school. I went to Woodward, which was on 55 and Bates.
Yeah, you sound like you going to school somewhere out there.
Deep South.
Deep South.
Right? So
55
and
Bates.
it was bust. So that tells you it's at a time where it's a desegregation type setup when you're getting bust from where you are all the way to another side of town just to go to school.
Yeah, from Grape.
You know, understand? So it was a desegregation type of program, right? And when I got there, it was like a whole culture shock for me, right? And truthfully, I didn't know how to handle everything that was going on with me, with my mama, with my daddy, with coming and being in this new environment. But I will say this. My consciousness of the white kids weren't a consciousness where they were threat, where they, you know, impose themselves on you in a way where they feel like they are better than you, or they talk down on you, or it seemed more like they blended in with us, right? And that was truly like my first consciousness of, okay, there's a whole other race, right? And this is before we even get to it's Chinese kids, it's other ethnicities, right? There is only black, white at this time for me. There is nothing else. I didn't see a Latino or African or other ethnicity until later in life, right? When I went to school. So, that's what elementary school was for me.
And that was it was the same all the way through the 6th grade?
So from 1st to 5th.
5th grade.
Right? In 1st grade, I failed the 1st grade because it was a culture shock, right? Imagine you go in a class, it's an older white teacher, right? And this is in the 80s, early 80s. So older white in the 80s is different than older white in the 2000s, right? You probably coming from a different place older in the 80s than you are older in the 2000s, right? So we were handled differently back then. Teachers handled us differently. It may have been a time where bringing us in was something that may have been somewhat new. So it was different types of personalities that was coming in. So you had to kind of understand, how do I handle this? How do I handle these kids? If this kid doesn't be like the others, if this kid doesn't sit down when I tell him to sit down, if this kid doesn't, if he has some type of thing about him that does not fit inside of the box as the other kids that's around.
So you from the era where they were whooping you in class, right?
I was from the era where the principal, would take you in his office, and I took many of them too.
I ain't from that era, right?
Yeah, I took many of them in the principal's office in my time. Through elementary school, I took many of them to the point where the principal loved me. Yeah, the principal whooped me enough times where he would bring me in his office and be like, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to whoop you today, man. What is the problem? What's going on? But I had to build a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
That's that old era right there.
Yeah. So I come from that time. But I will say that I had a teacher that stands out, and he was a white guy, right? In 5th grade. I had a situation where someone stole something from me in class, right? And it was a girl, and I knew that she took money out my bag, and I was hot about it. I wanted to fight about it, right? And the teacher, instead of him doing what most teachers would do, which would be you in here making a ruckus. You want to be fighting in my classroom. Go to the office. You gonna get the principal gonna see you. Okay, but instead he was like, look, how much did you think did she take? How much was it that she took out your bag? I told him how much it was. He went in his pocket, took the money out of his own pocket, and gave me the money back. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That meant a lot to me as a little kid looking at this teacher like, you know what, man, you all right with me, you know, because you could have sent me a whole nother direction because I'm really mad right now. Yeah. And I want to fight her. And you got to really like pull me off because I'm finna fight her about my little money because I don't get that like that. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing to me, and it left an impression to this day. I'm able to remember that moment where he stepped in and was like, nah, I ain't gonna let this go down like that. If she took something, I understand you mad, but let me help you. Let me keep you out of the principal's office today. You know what I'm saying? And that's really how I left elementary school.